Hello everybody. Yeah, it's been a while since I've posted anything on my channel. I've taken a bit of a break just for my own sort of personal reasons, and I've been doing a little bit of work in the van. So as you can see behind me, there's some cedar paneling now on the ceiling. There is cedar paneling at the front of the van that's all complete from side to side. So it's been done from side to side. A friend of mine helped me with this. We got it started. So the front half is done. And the puck lights are in. There's 4 of them. There's one there, and then of course these 2 right here. So that's been done. And I've taken it upon myself to do the back portion of it. So I've done half the back portion. As far as the fan goes, but there's still the back piece there, and then of course this here that I need to do. So it's coming. I apologize for the lighting. I know it's crappy lighting. This is not the best idea for me to be doing vlogs with this light, but it's pretty much what I have. If I just go with sorry, try and block it with my hand. If I just go with the regular van light itself, the interior light, it's not bright enough, so I have no other choice but to do this. It's like one of those construction lamp things, and again I apologize for that, but it's what I have for now, and as you can see it's the shits, pardon my language. Anyway, just let's have a chat about heating. Because in the past week or so, our temperatures here on the west coast in BC, Vancouver, I'm just outside of Vancouver by about half an hour, 45 minutes, half an hour-ish. We had a little bit of a cold snap. So we had an Arctic front that came down and it put us into the minus temperatures. Not super low, but I think it was around -10, -11 on the coldest of the nights. That was like a couple of nights. But then again, with the wind chill, I think it pushed us down to like -15, almost -20. Which for us is pretty cold. We don't often get that, but rarely, on occasion, we will dip down into Arctic, with an Arctic flow that comes down. So, heating. We did okay in the van. This is my first actual full winter in the van. And we fared okay, actually. I've got the Olympian Wave 8. Here, I'll show it to you. It's a beast. This, I think, is like the biggest of the Olympian Wave models. It starts at 3, and then 6, and then 8. I've got the 8. Why did I choose the 8? Because I've got such a big van. 72 square feet. Plus the height of the ceiling alone, when it was bare bones, was like 6'3", 6'4". It's probably about 6'1"-ish now. So this is a lot of space, and because I didn't have any full insulation in the van either, these walls haven't been insulated yet. I've put this stuff up, the rock wool in the top, and of course the ceiling has 1-inch foam board. Rated to R5. It's held in pretty good. Like, I'm putting my hand here and I'm not even feeling any cold. But if I put my hand on the cross beam that is attached straight to the metal of the roof, one of the beams, it's cold. But this, not cold at all. So it's done well. Now I've got the cedar paneling, which gives me a bit of another gap of air trapment here, and of course the wood is 1 inch thick, so that's going to add some insulation properties as well. The blanket that I have up in front is just a great big blanket that I already had. It's not very thick. It's not a thermal blanket by any means. It's just an old blanket that I used to have for my dogs. And because of the size of it, it worked out really well there, and I just tuck it in the top. That's not a thermal blanket by any means, and it doesn't, but having said that, even as thin as it is, it still holds the temperature difference from front to back. So if I lifted that curtain when I've been heating the front here, or sorry, the back, and I lift that curtain, it's pretty cold up front. So it does something. It's helping. But anyway, let's get back to the heating thing. This is on low right now. Our temperature is about, it's supposed to dip down to -2 tonight. Today's high in the daytime was about 7 degrees, 6-7 degrees. So we're getting warmer, but we still have the occasional cold night. But using this, it does throw a lot of moisture off. I'll give you that. As you can see, there's a bit of condensation building here. I do have my fan open though for ventilation, but that still doesn't stop the condensation. That's not bad. That's actually pretty decent. So another topic when it comes to this style of heating. Most everybody in van life now, when they've done their builds, they've completed their build with a proper dry air heat source. And that is in the form of a Webasto or Espar heaters. One is gas, one is diesel. Then there's a Propex heater, which runs off of propane. I've got a tank here that runs my Olympian. And I've also got a stove that burns propane as well. So the question is propane safe? Is this a safe alternative? Well, first of all, you have to be very mindful of the fact that any fuel source that has a flame burns oxygen. Yes, it burns the fuel that feeds it, but it also burns oxygen. So you need to be mindful of that. And make sure that you do have an oxygen replenishment coming in the form of a cracked window, your roof vent open, or that sort of idea. I do have 2 dogs, and that's my main concern. I do not want to kill these guys. I would be devastated if that ever happened, and I will never put them in a position where they will be in danger in any way, shape, or form. So I'm very, very wary of that. But is propane safe? Everybody has their opinions on it. And the concerns are about the tank. Well, this is a bomb. You're carrying a bomb around in your vehicle. You're just asking to blow yourself up. I mean, there are concerns about compressed gas in a cylinder in a contained space. Yes, of course. And that's why it's considered a dangerous good. And transporting it, you have to have a special permit and all that kind of stuff to be able to transport that stuff. However, if it was that extremely dangerous, they wouldn't transport it at all, because these trucks that take gas from point A to point B in cylinders like this, and bigger even, they wouldn't do it. They rattle around, they're traveling great distances. Yeah. So if it was an actual ticking time bomb, I don't think that they would be even considering taking it from point A to point B. This tank that I have is sitting in a milk crate, so it's got a squared structure to hold it steady. It's not going to tip. If you had the tank sitting on its own, yeah, there's a propensity for it to tip, but it's in a crate. And so therefore, with the square structure, it is less likely to tip over. It's got a square base to it, and it's pretty sturdy. It's also wedged in between some things, and it's not going to fall over in any way, shape, or form. Next thing, if something were to hit the valve and bust it, well, that's why these tanks have these pieces on the top, is to protect that valve. So if it did tip over, it's not going to snap the valve off. This is not just a handle, it's a protective piece for that valve. Oxygen tanks. I've done first aid for many, many, many years, and I've worked with oxygen tanks. There is a greater danger, well, maybe not greater by a long shot, but it's still just as much of a danger. Oxygen under pressure is extremely explosive anywhere near a flame. So same thing. Proper care and use of these things. I think that's one of the main concerns. And a lot of people are unfamiliar, or they're just, maybe they're lackadaisical, or they forget. But one of the main safety things that you should be adhering to with propane use in your vehicle is to shut it off at the main source. So right now my heater is on. Of course, the valve is open, so the gas is free flowing. There's nothing damaging the hose. I keep a check and make sure there's nothing kinking it. It's not being pinched by anything. It's not rubbing up against anything. So the wear and tear on it is minimal, if nil. Now, when I'm done running this, I don't shut it off here. I shut it off there. So I will shut off the main valve to the propane tank itself and let the hose bleed out and burn off completely. Then I will shut this off. And then I will go to bed, or if I'm out of the van. But if I'm not using my heater, this tank is shut off at the main valve. I do not let propane sit in the hose, and I do not let it keep pressure on the hose or any mechanism to do with the heater. That's where the problem lies. Under pressure, and these little, like the little 1 pound cylinders for the stoves are notorious for this. If you don't detach them from the main valve that feeds the burner, eventually the pressure from the cylinder in that is feeding it. So you don't have this open, you're not burning the fuel, so the fuel is waiting to go somewhere, and it's waiting to come out. So it puts pressure on the main O-ring and the valve in this piece here that feeds the stove. So if you leave it like that, eventually it's going to cause a problem with this piece here, and it could potentially explode. I've heard stories from other people that that's what's happened with them even, and they've experienced it firsthand. So whenever I'm not using the stove, I disconnect the cylinder and it's not attached. When I want to put the stove on and cook or whatever, I will reattach the cylinder. But once I'm done, it comes off again. That's the trick. Without that pressure, it's not putting pressure on the pieces to do with through the hose. It's not putting pressure on the hose, which could eventually cause it to expand, and it could bulge and it could pop. That's where the problem is. So turn it off. Switch it off at the main source. It's like your pipes in a house in the winter. If you know temperature is going to dip well below zero, there's a chance your pipes are going to freeze. If there's water in the pipes, they will burst. So what we used to do when I was a kid, my dad would shut off the main water source that fed the outside pipes. And that's where we would shut he would shut the water off at the main valve that fed the outside pipes to the external taps or whatever for the hoses and whatnot. And he would drain the pipes. And that's just a rule of thumb for all of that type of stuff. If there's pressure in any of these pipes or hoses, of course they're going to burst. You're going to cause damage to it, weaken it, whatever. But if you take care of them properly, there's less of a chance of that. So what I'm trying to say is be mindful and pay attention to your anything that's in your van that's propane fueled. Take those extra precautionary steps to create a safer environment for you and your pets if you're traveling with pets. I do not want to blow up my dogs. I don't want to blow myself up for that matter, but my dogs are my priority. And there's no way that I'm going to place them in any sort of danger like that. So take those extra precautionary steps And propane is just as safe as anything else. You could be transporting a jug of water and it'll be just as safe. But just don't be neglectful and negligent in the way that you're housing it or using it. And then when it's not in use, shut it off at the main valve. Detach the 1 pound cylinder from the piece that attaches to the stove itself. Just detach them. And when you need it again, reattach it. It may be or seem like a pain in the ass to keep doing that, but you know what? It's your life at risk here. And I would take those extra seconds to make sure that I'm not going to blow myself up. I think that's pretty common sense. So I hope that's helped. Many of you watching this are probably going, I already do that. Not stupid. And I'm not claiming that anybody is stupid out there. I'm just saying. I'm just saying this for the people that may not realize or were never taught. My father taught me a lot of things in respect to safety and how to look after stuff. So not everybody is taught those values, though. Not everybody's taught those safety tips or given those tools to understand or have the knowledge to look after things and make sure that your safety comes first. And that's just the way it is. Not everybody knows what to do. And that's okay. That's not anybody's fault, but it just is what it is. So I hope those tips have helped, and anybody watching this that didn't already know or think about it, they may be like, oh yeah, hey, that makes a lot of sense. And if it's helped, then hey, that's the takeaway from this, and I'm glad that it's been at least something educational that people can take away from it. So yeah, surviving the cold weather hasn't been an issue. Got the heater, making sure everything's good, ventilation behind me here, crack the front windows if I have to, and then when I'm not using it, shut the main source off. And that's it. Bob's your uncle, and we've been good. Temperatures are starting to rise again, and I think spring is around the corner now, so I think we're good. So anyway, on that note, stay safe, stay warm. If you're in a colder environment right now, still below zero. But yeah, stay safe at the same time. All right. Take care, everybody, and I'll have another video up fairly shortly. All right. Good night.